Hello YouTube, this is Attorney Conwin reaching out to you about a topic today that deals with family law and specifically divorce. I want to talk about generalities, however, it's very state specific, this field of law, and it's definitely best to reach out to a local attorney in your state or area to talk about it. However, I'll be talking about Illinois, Chicago specific laws because each state is different. Some states have community property states, which makes it very intertwined, your assets and income, as well as any debts. But Illinois, it is not a community property state. It is a state that treats assets that were brought into the marriage as somewhat different, but unless they're really commingled. That's a term that you're going to see a lot. There are many things to consider when you're getting divorced. So income, assets, debts, child custody / child support, and even spousal support, otherwise known as maintenance or alimony. Those things are very important because people are realistically thinking with their hearts in a very emotional time. It's an emotional time. But in Illinois, it's a no-fault state. And it's really an irretrievably broken marriage. And irreconcilable differences are the terms that the state of Illinois uses. And which just means we can't work it out. Whether he was at fault, I was at fault, the court system in Illinois does not care. Since, who really knows who's at fault? I'm sure both parties have some fault in this situation. So they really look to just kind of separate the parties in what is considered equitable, which is otherwise known as fair. So a lot of people think, oh, I have my name on my car, I have my name on the house, I'm the only one in the house, she lives with me or he lives with me, so he gets nothing because it's mine. No, it's not that simple. In Illinois, we look at when the property was purchased, when this asset was purchased, and even if it was purchased before the marriage, they'll consider things like what you did to this asset or property during the marriage, where it becomes more of a commingled asset. So those things gets it very tricky. It's not as clean as people think. That's where you kind of need an attorney to kind of argue your rights, because say, hey, my name's not on the mortgage, it's not on the title, but I live there and I helped him pay the rent. The mortgage, and we helped fix the place up. Now I get nothing? No, actually in Illinois, if you have a pretty good attorney, they can usually get a piece of that property. And even if it was purchased before the marriage, you can say you helped improve the property or you helped make the mortgage payment, so you get some stake out of it. There are other assets like stocks, bonds, those things are all going to be considered as, in a way, privy to the marriage, even if they were purchased before. However, there's within limitation, and that's where it's the gray area where attorneys are going to be fighting over assets. Then you have child custody, which coincides with child support. It's one of those things where it's case by case. I don't really want to look into it too in-depthly, but typically if the parties really want custody and fighting over it, obviously the parties are in agreement, like, hey, she's going to take the kids, I'm just going to watch him on the weekends. I'm okay with that. You're entitled to contract to that, and the court system won't really bother you, and they'll be like, okay, the parents have agreed and we don't want to get involved. However, if the parties are fighting over custody, that's where the court has to get involved. They even appoint it's called a GAL, a guardian ad litem. It's a Latin term which deals with a person representing a child who is not of adulthood, is still a minor who needs representation of their own interest, because it's all about the child's interest when it comes to custody. And you look at what does the mom do, what does dad do, what are their schedules. I had a nurse who worked really tough shifts. The guardian ad litem was like, hey, you work 16-hour shifts. How are you going to watch a kid by yourself? It's not feasible. So those things are all considered. Those things should be prepped prior. If you're a good attorney, if you have a good attorney, you would likely have him advising you, about those situations, saying, hey, try to get on an 8-hour shift 5 days a week instead of this crazy 16-hour shifts 3 days a week. It's going to be better for your kids. And then we have debts. Illinois is not a community property state, so your debts are considered your own unless they were attained or created during the marriage. And then arguments can be made that who owes it. Even student loans can become privy to marital domicile, the marital asset, the marital estate. So with that being the case, nothing's really without its reach. I've had some people who accumulate a lot of student loans, and their argument was, we're trying to further this marriage, take on all these, all the student loans to try to get a better job to help her or help him, further our future. But now, it's falling by the wayside, and I would like to get help from this person. And people always think income dealing with, oh, I'm a firefighter, or I am a nurse, and I make $100,000 a year, let's say. My wife stay at home, or my husband's a stay-at-home husband, watching the kids. That's all my income. No. So Illinois, we consider working a stay-at-home mom or father. That's value. That's economic value. because if not, you're paying a lot of people to watch your kids, and there's a lot of expenses with that. So that's not as simple as I make money, she doesn't, and vice versa. So those arguments can be thrown out really quickly. You have a good attorney who can just be like, look, who's going to watch your kids if she's working and making income? Or look, he's taking a lower paying job to try to be the one who can be with the kids more while you work heavy hours and for your career. So it's really not sex-based. It's really circumstantial. Nowadays, with both husband and wives working on a frequent basis, dual income, just the court doesn't treat you differently because you're a woman or a man. It's really just, what is your income? And let's say you make $50,000 a year, she makes 20. They try to give you some spousal support to kind of bring you up to even. And it really depends on how long you've been together for. Let's say 20 years. It can be indefinite spousal support, otherwise known as maintenance or alimony. So those things are something to be considered. If you've been married for a long time, that's a very realistic thing. A short time, they give you, like, say, spousal support for a year or 2 years. However, it's not going to be cheap. It's a way to balance the equities of the parties. So it's not as clean as most people think. My name, my income, your income, my name on the house, I keep it, this and that. No, it's very tricky, and it can get very expensive. And sometimes I tell my clients, if you don't have that much money in your property as well as your marital estate, maybe you guys should just settle and just be like, hey, let's just cool your minds prevail because we don't make things worse. But oftentimes emotions run high and people aren't their best selves and don't make the most rational decisions. But in the end, as an attorney, my clients, I tell them, what do you want me to do? I'll advise you against it, but if you want to proceed on fighting on custody, even though I think that it's not realistic for you to win based on your work schedule, based on your medical history, and various other things. So those are definitely things to consider when you're getting divorced in the state of Illinois, as well as specifically Chicago, where I practice. Hello, YouTube. Please slam that like button below if you enjoyed the video that we just posted, as well as like notification for future content. Please subscribe. We would greatly appreciate any comments as well as thoughts and insights in regards to the content we just delivered. And please stay tuned for future videos.